She never loved you. Well, buckle up. I thought I was going for a shorter video, but I don't think it's going to happen. So we'll see how it goes. All right. She never loved you. Okay. This is in reference to women who have attachment disorders, particularly anxious attachment disorders or attachment issues. And that'll usually crop up where they will fall in love with you very quickly. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about that burning sexual desire. They might want to have sex with you very quickly. Whether they do or not will depend on them. But if, wanting to have sex with you, having a burning desire for that is a good thing. Okay, that's not what constitutes unhealthy attachment. But wanting to jump into a full-blown relationship commitment, the whole 9 yards right away, is an indicator of an attachment problem or an anxious attachment problem. All right? If that's her, with a lot of you guys, a lot of women have this, and a lot of you guys get into relationships with this, you have to understand that she never loved you. Okay? She is a drug addict. Okay? She's addicted to, we'll just say, the oxytocin, because that's the major chemical component. But there's a series of chemicals and a chemical reaction in the body that happens when somebody attaches, in the sense of being in love with another person. Okay, so when they have those love feelings, that's a very powerful feeling for them and for you too, for anybody. They're addicted to those love feelings in an unhealthy way, where all they're wanting to do is replace those feelings, just like a drug addict trying to get their next fix. This likely stemmed from childhood involving caregivers, where they were given love at some points further from their caregivers, but then they were taken away, that love was taken away or hindered in an unhealthy way during childhood. So they didn't get their needs met in childhood. They didn't fully they got the feelings of love and attachment and all the neurochemicals that go along with that, but they didn't get that on a consistent basis and in a healthy way. And so what happens is then they turn to guys and they turn to relationships to get that attachment, those feelings of attachment. It could also stem from, narcissistic abuse relationships or any of those things. Anything where they have a high attachment and then that attachment is taken away. It leads to a fear of abandonment, and then they carry that over from relationship to relationship and scenario to scenario. Okay? So what ends up happening is this fear of abandonment. That's where this anxious attachment comes from. It's a low self-esteem. It's not feeling like you're good enough or worthy enough. It doesn't matter how good they actually are. Okay, this is stemmed in some point either during an abusive relationship or during childhood. So they don't feel they're worthy or good enough, and they will then create that abandonment scenario in any relationship they're in that's healthy, or if they have a high attraction, high desire for that person. Okay, so they will fabricate it or create it. It doesn't matter whether you intend to abandon her or not. She will create the scenario where she gets to say that you did. All right, so typical scenario is she'll love bomb you, and you'll be in a honeymoon phase, and it'll be the best situation you've ever been in. You're just getting bombarded with love from this person, and you think you're on another level. You think you're better than everybody else, and you found some sort of golden egg that nobody else has found, right? And you get along, and then there's an uncertainty that'll crop up in the relationship. It could just simply be the honeymoon phase being over and her realizing that you're actually a flawed human being and not this fantasy person that she concocted in her head. That could be one reason. The other reason could be maybe anything: financial distress, a change in your living circumstance, job change, schedule change, anything like that could create an uncertainty. With that uncertainty, if it's enough of uncertainty, it will stimulate that abandonment anxiety, that attachment anxiety. Once that's stimulated, she will that anxiety will show up in that relationship, and she will start doing toxic things in the relationship. She will see and feel like you're going to eventually leave her, and she will create toxic situations for you and her, and in order to devalue you, so she can eventually leave the relationship and then blame it on you. So it could show up like arguments, being disrespectful, ghosting. I mean, there's a number of things that they'll do that will create a toxic scenario or argument. It'll be very unlike how she behaved earlier in the relationship. And it won't be like this, it won't be the overtime small concessions and betatization that any normal woman tries to do to her man, and you just have to hold frame. It'll be kind of a drastic flip. You know what I mean? It'll be just all of a sudden a drastic argument. All of a sudden you're finding yourselves in regular fights with this person. And your choices you'll be always put in a situation where you can't win. You know, if you argue with her or dominate the conversation, you become the verbal abuser now, and now you're the bad person, and that breaks that emotional bond. If you placate to her and try to soothe her anxiety and, you know, and so forth, then you become the weak beta male who's putting up with toxicity, and then she won't respect you and she'll devalue you that way. Or you could say, hey, you know, this is unhealthy. I'm going to leave for a little bit. I'm going to go, you know, grab a coffee for an hour. Let's cool down. She'll view your leaving as abandoning her as well. And then she'll see you as, you know, rehearsing the future abandonment that'll be inevitable to end the relationship. So she will get more and more anxious and more angry and resentful at you, and she will continue to devalue you. So she saw you up here, but now she is the end result. Whether you're leaving, whether you're becoming verbally abusive, arguing, dominating discussions, or whether you're, you know, placating to her and letting her, you know, walk all over you, the end result is all the same, which is you were up here and now she's bringing you down in her eyes. Remember, she has low self-esteem, so, you know, she's going to bring you down and try to, you know, make herself feel better. She doesn't feel like she's worthy enough in order to not be abandoned, okay? So she will do that, and then she will get you devalued enough, and then she will mate switch. All right, she could mate switch by breaking up with you first, if depending on her set of values. She might break up with you first, and then she will very quickly have another guy. She will very quickly be working on another guy. Okay, or, you know, she could cheat while you're in the relationship. Either way, she probably has an orbiter or 2 or 3 lined up to switch to, or at least to try it, once she breaks it with you. And again, the reason, and then once she does that, it's like you never existed. And it's like at least the feelings she had for you never existed. They go away very quickly, and it's like they never happened. All right? So how does that happen? How can somebody do that? Well, understand, a healthy person who has healthy attachments, you know, they can't just do that. You know what I mean? But this person doesn't have healthy attachments, and you are nothing to her. She doesn't love you, right? You are just a person that fulfilled her drug addiction of those love feelings. So all she does is ball up all those feelings and all the shit that she piled on you, and then she finds that person to switch to, and she just drops it on them. It's hypergamy even doesn't fully, you know, isn't fully in charge here, actually. Hypergamy is always a factor because it's a hindbrain drive, but she's not always leveling up either. You know, understand, like, if she has a pattern of serial monogamy going from relationship to relationship, and you'll see one guy is like completely low SMV, another guy's high SMV, another guy's here, it's just kind of all over the place. She probably has this attachment. That's an indicator of an attachment problem, because she is in a hurry to get into the next situation that is a full-blown relationship with the next guy that's available. And so she's going to look at her available choices within a short period of time and a short, you know, a narrow selection, and whatever that selection is that she has within that short period of time, which could be a few days to a few weeks, and then she will switch based off that. She's not waiting for that high SMV guy. She's not working on herself and trying to get into a better relationship. She's not finding the guy that's better than you necessarily. I mean, she might have found that, but that's not even, it doesn't matter, because she's just finding the next person. Every relationship for her is like a rebound relationship. So that's what she does. She just takes it all, balls it up, and drops it on the next guy. So this is why she's not capable of actually love. She didn't love you, and you're nothing to her because she's not capable of it. Now understand, of course, men and women both love differently, but even in their own definition, though, they're not capable of actually having a healthy love relationship with another person. Because what that would require, a healthy love relationship is not just the cocktail of neurochemicals, it's also the bond that you develop with an individual, right? So that bond has to be unique and special and individualized. If she can just rebond very quickly from person to person, and we're talking like more quickly than the average woman. Most women can rebond very quickly due to their our evolutionary past, but we're talking quicker than what would be considered, healthy, okay? So even for a female. So when they're able to just switch, then the guy doesn't matter, right? It's just a facilitator. It's just the next drug dealer. It's just the next thing to soothe her neurochemical addiction. So all you were for her was supply for a neurochemical addiction, which is those love feelings, and nothing else. So you have to understand and realize that you didn't have anything with her that was real, okay? The feelings for you are real because you're a healthy person, assuming. So assuming that you're a person who's capable of having a healthy attachment to another person, then you're going through the breakup feelings and you're feeling that sense of loss. She is feeling very little to none of that, as she is just dumping feelings into another person. You are really just fodder for her neurochemicals. So, because drink a little bit here, all right? Because she was addicted to you, okay? But what she did being with her, she dragged you into her addiction. It's like hanging around with a heroin addict and eventually trying the heroin with them, all right? So she dragged you into, when she love bombed you in the beginning of that relationship, she dragged you into the scenario with her, okay? So you have those same feelings of addiction now too, all right? But since you have normal attachments, you're not capable of just replacing her with another chick probably, and then having all the same feelings all over again. Because you could have healthy attachments. You actually require to have that unique bonding experience with someone, whereas she doesn't have that as a requirement. You understand? She's just dumping the feelings and receiving, the neurochemical feelings. So when she discards you very quickly, puts another guy in your place, you're going to feel the worst pain you've probably ever felt, because you're breaking an addiction now. It's like you were involuntarily had your drug taken away. The amount of pain you'll feel is on the level of a death to a very close person in your life. Some describe the pain in these types of scenarios as even worse than that. All right? So the pain's going to be, it isn't going to be pretty. All right? It's not going to be good for you. So you're going to be tempted then to try to get your fix. No matter what I say in this video, and no matter what I say to clients I coach, they fucking never listen to me on this. I mean, it's very rare. They usually always try to get her back, always pine for her attention, always make that phone call, always reach out. They always do it because they are drug addicts, okay? And so they're trying to get her back, and they're trying to get that drug back. But understand, she's replaced you with another drug, and she doesn't care, and she doesn't love you. So she's not coming back. All your efforts are doing is supplying her ego and her self-esteem, which was low to begin with, so that she can jump on the other guy's dick. All right? Any effort you put into her is simply propping her up to get fucked by someone else. And to dump and to say all the same things she said to that guy, to you, she's saying to that guy. All the same tricks in the bedroom, she's pulling for that guy. Anything and everything she did for you, she's doing for him, and she's not even waiting for 3 dates to do it. Okay, understand. She is dumping it all back into him to get that neurochemical hit in return. And all of your efforts in chasing her, once she's discarded you, all of those efforts are simply supplying her to run off and do that. Okay, that's what you're doing for her. Your supply. She will orgasm with that other person thinking about you and how upset you are over her. It's the ultimate cuckoldry fantasy. Okay? Why? Is this a thing? Because she resents you. She blames it on you. Her dysfunction and her inability to bond with another person, it now becomes your fault. All right? No matter what you did, everyone does things wrong in a relationship. No one's 100% perfect. She will magnify those, she will gaslight, and she will make it sound like you were the reason everything broke up, everything's your fault, and it's a revenge. She wants you to pine for her the rest of your life. In fact, if you kill yourself, she'll be sad, she'll cry at the funeral, and then she'll come on some other guy. That's exactly what she'll probably take her other guy to the funeral and talk about how sad it is. You are just supply and fodder for her addiction and her problems. Drug addicts aren't very nice. Drug addicts do real horrible shit to other people, okay? And they hurt their loved ones, and they hurt the people that are closest to them, and they don't attach to people and have normal human relationships when they're drug addicts. Well, that's what she is. She's nothing better than a drug addict. So she will use you and spit you out, and in the process of doing that, while you're putting all this effort in, or pining for her, or rationalizing that you're not trying to get her back, and then you're really trying to, whatever you're doing, what it's going to do is continue to tear you down and make it worse for you. Make your bounce back that much harder, okay? So the best thing you can do is leave, all right? And never come back. Don't give her any supply. Just walk away and never, ever have the thought of having that relationship again, all right? Chances are she is not going to work on anything. Chances are she is not going to become better, okay? That's another thing. Your inclination will be, to try to, you're gonna be inclined to try to help her out and hope that she improves. Like I said, the chances of that are slim to zero. Okay, could happen, but you can't wait around for that. All right. So don't do it. All right. Don't chase after it. Don't have dreams of this thing ever working out. It wasn't real. All right. And you can watch her recreate or try to recreate the same scenario she had with you with that other person, like you never existed. When you're watching that, you shouldn't be watching that, you shouldn't be on her social media, you shouldn't have that communication, but when you see that, because you will, okay, then you know that what you had was not real, and then you know that it was just your turn, truly, and she never really loved you. She were just supply for that addiction, okay? And the best thing you can do is take all that pain and all that energy and level yourself up and make yourself better. Make yourself better and take the knowledge you gained from this terrible experience and get somebody that is better for you, that doesn't have an attachment problem, okay? That isn't sitting there with an attachment problem and unwilling to work on it, all right? Because most will be unwilling to fix the problem. If I mentioned it or not, it's they don't fix the problem because besides the biological aspect of them being women and some of the difficulties that are there in taking personal responsibility. When you're facing a trauma and you're facing attachment disorders and stuff, I mean, put it like this. You have people who take hard drugs that don't admit that they're addicted to the hard drugs, even though they're clearly addicted to the hard drugs, screwing their lives up, all that stuff, right? But they won't admit it because the drug is so powerful that they won't admit it to themselves. And that's a tangible thing, the drug, right? So what do you think somebody who's addicted to the love chemical is going to do? It's not even a tangible thing you can hold in your hand. It's not like hey, I do this coke, I get this result. You know what I'm saying? So, people get in relationships all the time, right? Like, so there's no way to rationalize even that it's an addiction for them. So they won't want to see the problem, because getting their fix, getting that neurochemical fix for them is going to be more important than admitting any fault whatsoever and admitting that they have any kind of a problem. And then the third issue, especially with attractive women, is there's no shortage of weak-ass beta males who are going to validate all the bullshit that they tell themselves and then they tell the other people. So they live in an echo chamber, okay? So guys and girls that'll tell them, hey, you're really fucked up and you're doing some things that aren't good for yourself, they're not going to want to listen to that. Hey, you have an attachment problem. They're not going to hear it, because they can go turn around and find 10 other guys that will tell them how beautiful they are, how smart they are, how they didn't deserve what happened in the last relationship, even though it's mostly their fault. Oh, they deserve this, they deserve that, and how great they are, and not call them out for the problems that they have. So they'll feed their ego with beta male attention, and then feed their ego in the next relationship and get that neurochemical hit. They will continue to do this until they finally, can't do it anymore, or, their SMV gets too low, or they finally settle in with a guy. Usually they'll settle in with a guy who is much less on the SMV scale than they are when they finally settle in. Because the guy, if she's a 7 and he's a 5, he's not going to trigger that abandonment anxiety as much as a guy that she would really be excited about. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the other thing. Even if she sees you as like an apex alpha and regrets the breakup and pines for you for the rest of her life, she's going to have too much anxiety to have a healthy relationship with you. So she's going to have an unhealthy but sustainable relationship with a guy that she doesn't respect and that's a lower SMV than her. All right? And that's how those things usually go. And they usually get married to that guy, and then, they'll cheat on him a few times, end up divorcing. I mean, it's just the cycle will continue until they're old and they finally die. That's just how it goes. Unless, of course, they get help and do the work and all that stuff. But most people in general won't do the work. Women in this scenario, you're talking 1 in a million that'll actually do the work for it. So don't pine for them. Don't try to get them back. Just recognize the facts. And the fact is, she never loved you. Don't think that she did. She's not capable of it. Go find somebody that is capable of actually loving you for who you are in the capacity of how a woman loves. Okay? Go find that. That's where your energy needs to be spent, not on trying to get your drug hit. Okay? So a couple things I'll point you to. I'll put them in the comments, or I'll put them in the YouTube thing, whatever, when it comes out. I'll link you to a video done by Ryan Stone. Every guy goes through a breakup should listen to it. It's about 10 minutes long. It's freaking perfect. Okay, it's better than anything I could have done for it. So it's a coffee talk with a guy by the name of Ryan Stone. He's got a great channel, so that's a really good 10-minute clip on how to handle that. All right, so check that one out. Okay, that's just your blueprint. Your blueprint or your map is in that video. What you do in this situation, especially if it's a breakup like this one, where it's with someone with a anxious attachment problem. Okay. Now, since regardless of what I say, you're still going to think about and want to try to get back together with your drug. Okay. So regardless of what I say, you're still going to want to try to do that. So I'll refer you to a video by a friend of mine and named Rich Cooper. He has a good video. It's basically on, is it worth taking her back? It's a real short video, and it's, if you think you want to get her back, I need you to rethink that, because you will not have the relationship you had before with her, even if you do get her back. okay? It will not be what it was and what you remember and what your drug hit was. I mean, in a 1 in a million chance, which I hate to even say this because you dummies out there are going to, you know, hold on to that 1 in a million scenario like it's going to fucking happen to you, and it's not, okay? But there's that 1 in a million chance she gets some deep ass therapy and starts solving some real problems, and you can have something healthy later with her. 1 in a fucking million chance though, okay? I don't recommend at all hanging your hat on any kind of hope for that, okay? So there's that, but chances are though, it isn't worth it. Even if in that 1 in a million chance though, she becomes healthier, if you were to be in a relationship with her, it's not going to look the same because what you had before was based on dysfunction, okay? So the second thing that would happen though is that you're back into dysfunction, but it's just even worse because you already accepted her mate switching and discarding you. And so now you're going to get back together with her. She's not going to respect you. Good luck getting your respect back. All right? She just cucked your ass in the ultimate way where you were probably trying to get her back while she was on some other guy's dick, orgasming at the thought of you crying in the corner, and now you're going to take her back. So good luck with that. If that's what you end up doing, it's probably not going to bear out too well for you. All right. So anyway, I'll refer you to that Rich Cooper video so you can rethink that strategy. Last one too, I'll refer you to Rational Male, Rollo Tomasi article. He had written a blog article called Detox. It's really good. It's how you need to, because he says it right, and I agree with him, that you're like a drug addict right now. If you're going through a breakup or whatever, you need to detox from that relationship. And so that means, once again, walking away from her, never looking back, okay? Excuse me. Don't hang on to mementos. Don't hang on to anything from that relationship, because understand, it wasn't real for her. She is not capable of loving you, all right? So if you need help, which you probably do, all right, if you made it to the end of this video, if you need help, hit me up. All right, I coach guys in your scenario all the time. All right, if we need a little bit more to kind of get you on the right track and get you in a better place, don't go to those get your ex back videos, okay? Because they're a waste of your fucking time and energy, and all they're gonna do is put you in a more unhealthy place than when you started with. If you're pining for it, trying to use some elaborate strategy to get an ex back, even when it involves some of the right answers, like no contact, for example, the purpose, your mental point of origin at that point, and your purpose isn't you, it's her and this old relationship and that drug hit of oxytocin you want to get. So that's only going to damage you more in the long run. It's only going to prolong the pain that you're in, and it's only going to put you in a spot where you're not becoming a better version of yourself and allowing yourself to get in a better situation. So a lot of you guys like to repeat the same mistakes over and over again and get into shitty relationship after shitty relationship, or bad scenario after bad scenario. So why don't we break that cycle and hit me up on a private message for coaching. Like the video, share it to friends, subscribe, okay? So I can keep doing these. And thanks for the support.